All right, good morning, everybody. As you can tell, we're trying something a little bit new right here. The next few weeks, we've got the Morning Update show on the shelf as we finish the build out here in the new studio, and we'll be relaunching the Morning Update show. And until then, you'll see me popping in every morning with some news, information, and headlines. So this is it right here for what's today? Tuesday, September 28th, 2021. First off, wanted to start following up conversation yesterday regarding the CD Panthers and what was going up there at Judkins Park. And I talked about it yesterday, sent a clip out. There was shots fired up there at Judkins Park during the CD Panthers Little League football game. Now, in response, the CD Panthers football and cheer and Africatown, they are making a call out for community members, especially Black men, to be present up at Judkins Park during the CD Panthers practice this week on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then their final home game, which is homecoming for the CD Panthers on Saturday up at Judkins. I caught up with Wyking Garrett of Africatown and Coach Terrell Elmore of the CD Panthers yesterday here in the studio, and Wyking talked a little bit more about this call to action for community.
This is a bigger issue, obviously. You know, you've been covering it, you know, for a time, putting the call out. People need to address it, and it needs to be addressed. And the solution does have to come from within us, I think, in our community. There's external factors that obviously play a role. Resources should be going in the right places, but there is something for us to step up and take as much responsibility for improving our, you know, our family and our community situation. Obviously, it got too close. Bullets too close to babies, you know, and we've had some previous things happening, but, you know, there's got to be some safe zones, right? We want everywhere to be a safe zone, obviously, absolutely, but there has to be where our children, where our grandparents and parents are gathering, you know, that has to be thought of as a place where it's conflict-free, it's peace, right? And so, that was really the call out, is to our community, specifically Black men, to show up and reassure our children that are on that field and their parents that they are safe, you know, and that we value them and we treasure them, and they are the greatest thing that we have, you know, and for people to make time to come down and really turn this negative circumstance into a positive conclusion.
All right, Wyking Garrett right there of Africatown, again, making a call out to community and specifically Black men to be present and create a safe space up at Judkins Park for the remainder of the practices this week, today, Thursday, Friday, and then, of course, the game on Saturday. Yesterday, Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkan made her budget address, mainly focusing on two main points, which is COVID recovery and homelessness.
Tonight, I want to share the two key priorities in my final budget that keeps us moving forward together. First, continuing the fight against COVID-19 and ensuring we recover stronger and better than before. This demands that we make generational investments in equity so that Seattle truly can be a city for everyone. Second, making unprecedented investments to address other crises that we faced before the pandemic: homelessness, housing, public safety, and climate change.
All right. Following the address, yours truly and Kevin Schofield, we did what we do, did an analysis basically of the mayor's budget. Big budget. You're talking about $6.6 billion altogether. And here's Kevin talking a little bit more about the investment in housing.
So there's a lot of money in this budget for housing. Mm-hmm. In fact, the Office of Housing is seeing about $114 million added to its budget this year. 89 million of that's going to go straight into building more housing. Another 15, almost 16 million of that is going to go into acquiring housing in neighborhoods that are really facing high displacement. And another 6 million, you know, of course, if she gets her way on all this, on expanding home acquisition, home ownership. And so help really start to address some of the issues around generational wealth with that. So that's a big deal. Human services, which is where the city's homelessness investment has lived for a very long time, is also going to see a pretty big change this year, because rather than running $114 million of homelessness investments themselves, they're going to write a check for $104 million to the regional homeless authority.
They're giving $104 million to the county.
Right, not to King County itself, but to this new regional homeless authority that King County and City of Seattle sort of started up together.
So what's the city still going to support though?
A couple things. They're going to keep a couple $1 million in the budget to keep running the Hope Team, so that's not moving over to the homeless authority. Most of their contracts that they have right now with service providers are going to move over to the new regional homeless authority to manage. But they're going to keep about $8.5 million for a couple contracts, and they don't really say in the budget exactly which ones those are. But you can imagine it may have something to do very specifically with some particular facilities that the city has. So those are certainly very, very big priorities for the mayor. It certainly looks like she's decided in what we hear often as a regular talking point for progressives in the city, that the solution to homelessness is housing.
All right, you can catch the whole show from me and Kevin Schofield. It's up right now on the Converge Media YouTube and Facebook channels. Going to take a quick break right here. We'll come right back. We have Support Black Business. You always know one of the most favorite parts of this show, Support Black Business. Also, we checked in with a team from Seattle Parks and Recreation. Also, I talked to Carolyn Bick. We talked to Carolyn Bick from the South Seattle Emerald about some discrepancies that she found in OPA reports. We'll be right back.
Businesses are largely in COVID. Small businesses have been almost twice as likely to shutter.
Disproportionately so.
More than half of Black business owners
are struggling to obtain federal paycheck protection.
Joy back into the community on African Americans.
Somehow we always find a way to rise.
To the blueprint builders, to the backbones of every block, to the late night legends and the pioneers of legacy, for the curators of the culture, for the family franchise, and for generations to follow. You might fall, but never fail. Keep rising, keep rising, keep rising. Apply today for a variety of business, marketing, and tech makeovers on us to help your rise.
All right, time for Support Black Business, powered by Comcast Rise. Today, we're looking at Steeze and Seeds, all about plants. Learned a lot about plants right here. Seeds and Steeze.
Steeze and Steeze is an online-based plant shop. We choose to stay online because accessibility really matters to us. I think part of it is that it's our roots, but I think also a lot of people don't know that they love something until they're exposed to it. So that's something that I love to do with the youth as well. We reach back out to the youth and, we provide kids with plants so that they can see that this is something that they actually love. A lot of kids aren't able to experience those things until they're older. I didn't realize that I loved gardening and I loved plants until I was 23 years old. And from then it's just kind of taken off. I grow tomatoes and peppers and all those kinds of things, but I also cultivate houseplants to give back to the community as well. So I think part of it is people are finding that once you had time in the pandemic to raise the plants, to take care of the plants, that they really did love this, and people just never had the opportunity to get into it. So with the houseplant boom, people are buying more houseplants and people are becoming more exposed to it, and people are finding that they really love it. And there's a science behind when most people envision themselves being at peace, being calm, they envision themselves surrounded by nature. And I think having greenery and houseplants in your house brings that bit of peace to your home, especially at a time where it's very trying. We're fighting through a pandemic that's very up and down, up and down. We think we're this close to an end, and then we're pulling back in, and it seems like we're going to go back into quarantine. So people who don't know what's the right houseplant for them, come talk to me. I'm very easy to contact. It all depends on your lighting. It all depends on who you are. I say all the time, I want to sell plants to people that fit their lifestyles. I don't want people to change their lifestyle for plants. Otherwise, you're just going to fail because you're not going to be able to keep with the watering schedule. You're not going to be able to do a lot of things. I myself am a lazy plant parent. So I have a lot of plants that I don't have to water 2 or 3 times a week. I got a cactus, a snake plant, a ZZ plant, lots of succulents, anything you need. Seeds and Steeze is accessible online, seedsandsteeze.com, or you can find us on Instagram, or you can find us at numerous pop-ups. We're often showing up at pop-ups that are centered around Black and brown folks and also the queer community.
All right. Seeds and Steeze right there. And also want to tell you about everything that you see here on these updates. You can find the link in our bio, and we'll have a page too, so you can click on all these stories, articles, and everything else. Right now, Black Business Relief, again, powered by Comcast Rise. I want to remind everybody that Comcast has $1 million in grants for small businesses in King and Pierce counties. In King and Pierce County, $10,000 grants. Right now is like the preparation period right now until the 1st. You can go and visit the website and you can learn about all the requirements. And then the actual window for application is the 1st through the 14th of October. So $1 million, small businesses in King and Pierce counties. And you'll find the link there in bio and also comcast.com/rise. And speaking of that, by the way, tomorrow we're going to be talking about For Culture as well. For Culture got a lot of money out there in relief for community organizations, millions of dollars for community organizations. So we'll be discussing that tomorrow. Moving along here. So yesterday I had an opportunity to speak to Selena Elmer and Shanya McElroy. They're from Parks and Recreation. And so what Parks is doing right now is they have their strategic implementation plan open house. I know it's a lot of words right there, but basically, they're getting their plan together. Well, they've got a plan, but they're getting feedback from community about what people want to see in parks in Seattle moving forward. So basically shaping the future of the parks here in Seattle. And so it's online open house, link there in the bio. Really want to encourage people to get involved, give Parks and Recreation your feedback. So when I talked to Selena and Shanya yesterday, my questions were more about the process that they want to go about to develop this plan, and also the intentionality, because a lot of times when government moves, there's people who get left out, and sometimes it's intentional and sometimes it's not. But I wanted to see how intentional Seattle Parks is in this process, this open house, and wanting to get feedback from the public.
We want to make sure that we are reconnecting with folks that we serve, and specifically folks who have been most impacted by everything that's happened over the last 18 months, to ensure that what we're thinking about still tracks with what community is experiencing, and that we are reassessing our priorities and pivoting again to match where folks' needs are now. And so this online open house is one strategy that we're using to do that.
But how intentional is the Seattle Parks Department being about engaging in community, in different communities, to get information as to what the future of the parks people in Seattle want to see?
Absolutely. I appreciate that question. And we definitely recognize that kind of mainstream efforts, in order to kind of mainstream and generalize efforts for public and community engagement, don't always hit communities that typically there's communities from that are not visible. And so for this round, we reached about 10,000 people during our public engagement activities when we developed the original strategic plan. For this round, we really wanted to be intentional and focus on a couple of things. Like Selena said earlier, we wanted to hear from folks about how there's been so much change with the pandemic, with our city looking at racial reckoning in a different way, and for some folks with new eyes and with new energy. We really wanted to make sure that we work to capture that momentum, and that we reach communities that we hadn't reached with our previous engagement efforts. Some of the ways that we are doing that is we have established superintendent listening sessions, specifically with community-based organizations that are led by and work with BIPOC community members, and also other communities that hold marginalized identities. We are still scheduling those. We really encourage that if you are a part of a community-based organization that serves BIPOC individuals or other individuals for others in justice, that you reach out to us and host a co-led community meeting with our superintendent and with our team, so that we are able to hear from the communities that you support and that you are a member of.
All right. So Seattle Parks, like I said, it's important, at least to me, that people, as many people as possible, give you feedback. You know, parks play a pivotal role in this city for all kinds of different people, for all kinds of different reasons. And so Parks is actively seeking feedback, and we'll continue the discussion about that, about this open house and getting you guys to sign up. And like I said, the link is right there, link in bio. So you can go to our bio and the links in bio there. Last thing I have here as far as stories, I spoke with Carolyn Bick of the South Seattle Emerald about their recent article in which Bick says there were glaring discrepancies in the OPA, that's the Office of Police Accountability Report, on the Labor Day 2020 protest that occurred at SPOG. A lot of you guys have followed the Seattle protests. You'll remember this. It got funky down there at SPOG. But Bick says that there's a lot of glaring discrepancies in the OPA report.
My reporting focuses on the SPOG protest and specifically a case about the SPOG protests within the OPA. It concerns a director certification memo, which is from the OPA, which is a DCM in short terms. And that is a summary, basically, of events and a justification for the OPA's findings in a case. And the issue with this particular DCM is that it appears to be riddled with factual inaccuracies, which ultimately, at the end of the day, have guided the OPA to make the specific conclusions that they've made. And because of the way the OPA is constricted in its powers, those conclusions are now immutable. Case is closed. The evidence, when you actually compare it against the DCM, tells a specific story. But the DCM weaves a completely different narrative. And that's a problem. Because again, the conclusions that the OPA has reached with regards to discipline or not of officers, those conclusions are immutable, and they are based on what appears to be a very faulty narrative. So, for instance, I'm just going to give an example, which is also in the story. The DCM claims that TAC-9 audio, police radio, and the CAD report, which is the computer-aided dispatch, or essentially just a kind of a transcript of police radio, this TAC-9 audio, says that 12 Molotov cocktails were reported, something along those lines, when in actual reality, it was a Molotov cocktail, maybe. So also, one major point is that the narrative in the DCM appears to try to weave three different people and make them into one person. And this is a problem for a multitude of reasons, all of which are listed in the story.
All right. And you can read the full article that Carolyn wrote in link in bio, but you can also go to our partners over there at the South Seattle Emerald. Check them out. All right. Getting ready to wind it down here, man. I'm trying to make it as quick as possible. Got a few upcoming events. Want to remind everybody, the Black Tones live at Pier 62. That's this Saturday. You can check them out. That's totally free down there at the pier. The Black Tones will be performing. And Anita Hill Anita Hill's going to be live at the Moore Theater. That's October 20th. That's STG Presents. You can get tickets there for that. On that note, you know, like I said, just want to bring you the headlines as we see them here, quick, and, you know, get in and get out. And we'll keep this format here for a few weeks until we launch this new studio. So on that note, I'll see you tomorrow. Go ahead. Have a fantastic day.
I did it for the city. I did it for the love. I did it for the people. I did it for us.
Back on this rap ish, I ain't even broke a sweat, homie, this practice. Pondering my next move, staring at my track list, hope I ain't miss my window. Praying like a Baptist, Seattle's own. Tired of this Game of Thrones. They made a list of the best rappers, and guess who wasn't on? While the disrespect continues, I'm steady packing these venues.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.